Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our new autumn series of What's New in AT. We're absolutely delighted to welcome our colleagues from TextHelp. Jason and Richard will be joining us later to look at how TextHelp can create the technology to help people communicate. And that's across the ability range, across all stages of life. Um, I'd like to just spend literally just 5 minutes framing what this is all about. What is assistive technology? Well, we describe it as an enabler, enabling greater independence by users. It allows some of them to achieve and perform tasks that were previously unable to do or found difficult. Traditionally, it's been mobility aids or hearing aids or visual impairment systems, but increasingly over the last 20 years, it is IT systems which can close communication gaps for a wide number of people. I love that Judy Human quote. It is about making things possible. And I think we need to realize that the range of assistive technology is growing rapidly as the technology improves. Who would have thought exoskeletons were possible 20 years ago? Yes, there was Steve Austin and the $6 million man, but my goodness, it's coming alive today. But we'll focus now, I think, more towards communication tools. Now, I just want to give you the context in which we're operating. The dominant model at the moment out there in society is what we call the medical model of disability. It's not right, but this is the way it is. There are labels attached to people. There is a barrier put up, that's the dotted line, and there's a perception that assistive technologies are for some, the disabled, identified through assessment of needs that pass a certain threshold. Sadly, that is still the model out there. But we want to make a more fair, equitous, and accessible society. And that's defined by the social model for disability. The social model of disability says people are disabled by society. Therefore, it is incumbent on society to make the adjustment so that society is more inclusive and accessible. Let's move that line over. Let's include people with identified needs. Let's also consider people with unidentified needs. Our understanding of neurodivergence has grown and grown. The British Dyslexia Association contends that 70% of young people in our schools today with dyslexia go unnoticed. 70%. Process that. Add to it our society, where aging is having a huge impact, the collisions of disadvantage that many of our children have, those with language barriers, trauma. We call it children or people disabled by circumstance. Well, if we include and if we adjust society to be accessible, let's take that barrier out. And let's think about tech for good, assistive technologies for all. And it is within this context, we celebrate a range of possibilities that assistive technologies can bring to the classroom to remove systemic barriers, to make learning possible for needs that are sometimes unseen and unknown. And it is within this context that we are utterly delighted to welcome Jason and Richard from TextHelp to describe just a little bit about what you do and how you do it. So over to you guys, and welcome to this webinar.
Thank you, Marius. I'm going to share my screen now, and fingers crossed, everyone should be able to see a slide now that says education for everyone.
Perfect.
Getting a thumbs up there, perfect. So I just want to take 2 seconds and quickly give you a bit of introduction to TextHelp. TextHelp was launched back in 1996. I wasn't working at the company back then. I'm a little bit younger than that there. Not sure if Richard was maybe there back in those days. But we have grown over the past almost 30 years to the stage now where we have around 200 million regular users of our software, and we have around 350 text helpers. So I'm a text helper, that's what we call our staff. And I don't say that in any way to sort of boast about us as a company, but it's just to put your mind at ease that TextHelp are a company who are around the world and supporting millions of users who need support with assistive technology. You can see there the group itself spreads across international boundaries. There's TextHelp for Education and TextHelp for Work here in the UK. Then across in the Nordics we have the likes of WizKids, Aribi, Linga, and then recently we acquired Don Johnston as part of the brand in the US. So I say we're a global company and we're supporting learners all over the world with their reading and their writing. Our mission as a company, what we want to do is to help unlock everyone's full potential through inclusive technology. We believe inclusive technology has a real power to remove barriers and allow everyone to achieve that full potential. And our vision is that we strive for a world where everyone can understand and be understood. And you'll maybe understand that a bit more as we go forward. I'm going to play a short video for you now, which will give you a brief introduction, and then we'll move on a bit further.
At TextHelp, we believe everyone deserves to understand and be understood. Our digital tools help build confidence at school with reading, writing, and maths. We started 25 years ago trying to help one person, but we knew we could help more. From that one person to the millions of people with dyslexia, to everyone at school, college, or university. We're creating accessible and inclusive learning for everyone. Give students tools to read, write, and sit exams with confidence and independence. Take documents to the next level by making PDFs more accessible and actionable. Create engaging and accessible learning experiences by taking maths beyond pen and paper. TextHelp tools help set students up for the best possible start in life, allowing them to understand more and achieve more.
I think that short video just gives you a brief introduction to what we do at TextHelp. Some of you on the call may be familiar with some of those products, Read and Write and Equatio. You may be familiar with the likes of Orbit Note, Global Autocorrect, Claroread. There's a whole range of them. If you're in the Nordics, maybe AppWriter or some of those products. But needless to say, all our products are safe and secure, and I think that's very important when we're dealing with students and we're dealing with schools. There's lots of concerns around safeguarding and can our tools be trusted. So we're fully compliant there with the likes of ISO 27001, GDPR, and we have a team on hand actually who will help support you if you have any DPIAs or anything like that that need filled in. Recently we carried out a bit of research across the UK where we polled 2,000 people, and part of this campaign was called Words Can't Hold Us Back, and we asked a range of questions. So I have the chat window open here, but I'll not ask you for the sake of time, I'll not ask you to answer these out loud, but if you can have a think. What percentage of Brits do you think struggled with some form of literacy during their education? And this number came as a bit of a shock to me when I saw it. It's 36%. A huge number. There's a lot of statistics that get bandied about around literacy. So in the likes of the UK, they would say the average reading age is around 9 years old. And it's one thing that always helps me understand why The Sun is such a popular newspaper, because they understand their audience. It's written at a literacy level which many people understand and can grasp the writing within that there. We took that question a step further and we asked what percentage of Brits said they didn't get enough support with reading and writing during their education. And it comes as no surprise that this is a very similar number. 37% said they wish they'd received more reading and writing support throughout their education. Literacy challenges impact everyday life. If you're like me, when you wake up in the morning, you lift up your phone and you start reading BBC News and Twitter and lots of stuff. We read and consume vast amounts of literature throughout the course of the day. But you look at some of those stats, 25%, 1 in 4 out of those 2,000 people polled feel embarrassed when reading aloud to preschool children. And Richard and I both have young kids, and we both enjoy bedtimes where we get to sit down with the kids, try and calm them down at the end of the day and read them a story. But that came as a shock to me that 1 in 4 people actually feel embarrassed when they're reading aloud to preschool children. And around 40% find it hard to understand paperwork, such as phone contracts. So, bits of literature that we're dealing with day in, day out in our daily lives, people are struggling to understand that. But we as a company, we believe that words can't hold us back, and we believe in the power of technology to break down some of those barriers. We're firm advocates in inclusive education, and what we do as a company is create digital tools for inclusive learning, because education is for everyone, no matter where they are on the social strata, no matter where they live across the world. Education is for everyone, and we've created a range of tools to support everyone, because everyone learns differently. As Maria said, there's some stats around dyslexia. Around 1 in 10 people have dyslexia. So everyone learns differently, everyone interprets differently, but when inclusion is done right, all students can benefit from it. But for some students, there's still stigma. And we have a quote here. This is Evie from New Battle High School. Whenever she talks about being diagnosed with dyslexia, she says about being insecure about it. She didn't want to tell her friends, she felt silly, and it was something that made her not ordinary. There's a massive amount of stigma around dyslexia for our young learners in our classrooms. But with the right type of support, every learner in every subject can understand more and achieve more. And Richard was just telling me the other day there that Evie is actually now the head girl of New Battle High School. So her dyslexia in no way has held her back, and having the right tools have helped her to achieve more in her education. So what we want to do is make our classrooms a better place for everyone. And when we think of dyslexia, we have a range of tools which can support those students. So those 10% believed to be dyslexic, 1 in 10 students in our classroom, and as Maria said, up to 70% of our students may go undiagnosed. So maybe as a teacher you're sitting thinking, yeah, we have 2 or 3 students in our class. I can assure you there's a lot more across your class and across your schools. We also support SEND students, and again, you look at some of the statistics around this. 21.9%, that's the percentage of pupils in all UK schools who receive SEND support, are identified with having speech, language and communication needs. So all our SEND students, 1 in 5 of those require some support when it comes to speech and language. You think of those needs in the classroom around the likes of dyslexia, ADHD, visual impairments. How do we support these learners? How do we support neurodiversity in the classroom? Because we believe that the talents of different thinkers, they far outweigh the learning challenges that many experience. And if we can give students the right tools at the right time and get those interventions in early, we can make a huge difference in their lives. So I'm going to briefly touch on a couple of our tools now, specifically Read and Write and Orbit Note, and then I'm going to pass across to Richard, who's going to delve a little bit deeper into some of the users of our software and some of the great results that they have found through using them. So Read and Write, many of you may be familiar with this. It's just a simple, discrete toolbar which sits across the top of the screen, and students can use this in the classroom, they can use it at home, they can use it anywhere where learning happens really. They can use this toolbar to support them. So what we want to do with Read and Write is help every student read, write and sit exams with confidence. So this is a literacy support toolbar which they can use across the whole curriculum. We had our Festival of Inclusive Education just yesterday, and some of the teachers were saying on that there were traditional support tools like the likes of dictionaries and stuff maybe in some classrooms but not in other classrooms. Certain tools might be available in some classrooms but not in other classrooms. But Read and Write is a toolbar which sits on the laptop and follows the student everywhere they go, everywhere where learning happens, and they get support. They get reading and writing support. There's a suite of 20 different literacy support tools, including the likes of text-to-speech, where and when they need it. So even if they're using a mobile phone and they're on the bus home from school, Read and Write is there to support them in that environment as well. So we want to give them choice on how they access and engage with the content that their teachers are giving them. You think of supporting students with saying, read and write is really, really useful for that there. There's a range of tools that beyond those sort of literacy, reading and writing tools, there's a range of accessibility tools that help create a level playing field for all those students. And as Richard will touch on at the end, we want to make the exam room accessible. So read and write is approved for use as a computer reader and as a replacement scribe in GCSE and A-level exams. So I'm going to touch on some of these features at a glance, and like I said, I'm not going to sit and give you a demo and a tour of the toolbar because that takes too much time, and that's not what we're about here today. We want to give you an introduction to these tools. So some of the features that are there in Read and Write are things like text-to-speech, just being able to hit a play button and have that content read back to you. This is something that is particularly good for learners who speak English as a second language or learners with dyslexia. But think of those learners who've maybe just forgot their glasses that day. Think of those learners who are maybe studying for exams and they're just tired, they've had cognitive overload from reading too much. Just being able to hit a play button means that these tools are useful for everyone. Things like check it, so common spelling errors for someone with dyslexia, like homophones, those phonetic errors, check it can pick up on those and make those corrections. Like I mentioned earlier, dictionaries aren't in every classroom, but with Read and Write, you have a text dictionary and you have a picture dictionary right there in the toolbar. And some of the newer features that we've added in there, the likes of Rewordify, whenever you have a piece of complex text and maybe it's slightly beyond your reading level, being able to click Rewordify will take that text and change the meaning of some of those more difficult words to help you understand it and help you engage with the text. So we're improving those learners, those struggling learners, we're helping them keep up to speed with the rest of their class. If we look at those features on a whole, they're not just about accessibility. We have the accessibility tools in there, we have Audio Maker, we have Screen Masking, we have Screenshot Reader, but we also have those reading tools to help all learners. We have writing tools to help learners improve their writing and improve their expression. Sometimes learners, the information is in their head, but they just can't get it down on a page. So being able to put a set of headphones on and just talk and the computer types it all up for you, you're given those multiple modes of input and helping those learners engage in a different way. We have study tools. The good thing about Read and Write is it's one subscription, but it's one sign-in and it can be used on any device. So it doesn't matter if you're using a Windows device at home and a Chromebook in the classroom, Read and Write is there to support you. And very quickly, just 1 minute here on Orbit Note before I pass over to my colleague Richard. I'm sure many of you on the call, like me, either as a teacher, as a parent, remember the pain of remote learning. For me, my two elder kids were both in school at the time, and I was getting PDFs home in Google Classroom. I was having to print the PDF out. My son or my daughter were filling in the PDFs. I was having to take a photo of the PDF, send that, upload it back through again in Google Classroom. The teacher then got a different version of the document that they shared, and they had to, mark that homework and send those comments back. That was a real pain for people, but what we've been able to do with Orbit Note is bring the same range of accessibility features and supports that we have in Read and Write into that PDF environment. We're making the PDFs fully accessible, but we're also making them actionable. A teacher can share the PDF, the student can draw on it, they can put circles on it, they can type on it, they can speak into the document and type their notes there, and they can send that back to the teacher, and they're making those PDFs a more interactive way of learning instead of just being a photograph that you print out and you write on. Within our Google Classroom integration of that as well, it works seamlessly, and it can just work across the devices when the students at home, when they're in the classroom, they can engage with PDFs and annotate and complete their work. Again, what we've recently done with Orbit Note, Chromebooks traditionally haven't been able to be used in exams just because of the nature of them. They're always connected to the internet, just the type of tool that they are. But with Orbit Note, we're able to lock those devices down, creating a secure environment which the student can engage, use their Chromebook in an exam room, and it's all JCQ approved. So that's the introduction from me about TextHelp and about some of those products. And I'm going to pass across to my colleague Richard now, and he's going to fill you in a little bit more about what people actually say about it, because that's what really matters. It doesn't matter how much I tell you about the products, it's what our users and what our learners find out about it, which is important.
Thank you, Jason. Firstly, and couldn't agree more, Jason. What our customers say about us and the benefits that they receive from using our products with their students is the really, really important thing. And that's what we all get a massive boost out of on a daily basis with TextHelp. But just a little bit on customer success, because I'm part of the customer success team within TextHelp. We created and developed a customer success team because it's important that you are supported with your software. The tools provided by TextHelp and created by TextHelp are very, very simple and easy to use, but it can be daunting implementing a brand new piece of technology in your school or college. And it's really, really important that there is someone there to support you through that from the initial deployment, listening to your goals for the incoming year and years beyond, and working with you on a daily basis to ensure that you're hitting those goals. So that's the purpose of customer success, and that's what we strive to do on a daily basis. Make everything as simple as possible for our end users, from deployment right the way through to maximizing usage and making sure that students are getting the most out of it. We do that in a variety of different ways, through live webinars, through personal contact, regular catch-ups with our customers to ensure that all of that happens. And a variety and abundance of online resources from our website and from TextHelp Academy that are available to make the journey so much easier and really seamless for our customers. But let's take a look on the next slide of what some of our customers have said since implementing our products. A lot of the customers that you're going to see here are scale customers, where the rollout has been to a multi-academy trust or a local authority, and some of the Scottish authorities that we'll look at. So Graham Macaulay, Director of Technology at Leo Academy's Trust, a trust containing a number of primary schools, they wanted a tool that would help all of our learners. And as Graham goes on to say, very quickly realized that their thoughts on that was perfectly in line with TextHelp on their own beliefs about education. So a tool to support all learners. And it was a brilliant approach that Graham took with that, because as Jason has shown you with Read and Write and Orbit Note and the quick tours of those this afternoon, these are tools, assistive technology, that can benefit everyone. But Jason also mentioned the stigma attached. Evie, the head girl in New Battle High School, by providing the use of our software, our tools, to all pupils who will benefit from that, pupils who require the essential support of those tools will also receive that to really level the playing field and boost their learning experience as well. So I'm going to take a quick break, and it's really important in the next slide. We're going to hear from some of the staff and some of the pupils of Leo Academy Trust when they caught up with us at VET a couple of years ago.
My name is Matt Clements, and I'm from Chingfields Primary School, and that's part of the Leo Academy Trust. And I am a class teacher, also working with developing technology for learning. Technology in Leo Trust is to be used as an adaptive approach so that everyone can access it. And that can be through lots of different ways, and we want all children being engaged with every single lesson. We started using TextHelp at the beginning of the year, only briefly, and then after Christmas we used it as part of our Assistive tech program, and then we really sort of focused on our reading. And where we focused on our reading, it was being able to get all children to be able to access, and then all children be able to be on the same text. Rather than have a differentiated text, they are able to access it in a differentiated way, so personalising their own learning.
TextHelp is really good, and it helps me a lot, because if I don't know like the words, I can just highlight it and just go on a dictionary. And if I want to see what it looks like, I can just go on Pictionary. It's helped me quite a lot, because I used to not really understand much of reading or English, and I wasn't a big fan of it. But now, because of TextHelp and Read and Write, it's made me more interested in it, and it's helped me a lot to understand my vocabulary. TextHelp would also be great to use it older, so like if you would become a teacher, you could easily show it to the children that you're teaching, and if they're struggling with it, they could highlight it, and then you could easily understand that they don't know that word yet. So next lesson you could explain and help them with that word. I would like to use it when I'm older, because like I like using all like cool apps and stuff like that, and if it helps me like read or like helps me with my maths, I'd like to use it in the future, so then I keep on getting better and better and better.
TextHelp is a great tool that I'm going to be using every single day within all my lessons, whether it be a research lesson, whether it be a reading lesson, whether it be an English lesson, or even maths with Equatio. I'll be using it all the time, and I think it's for so much adaptable learning and adaptable teaching, so I'll be 100% for it.
Thanks, Jason. So enthusiasm and stacks coming across in abundance there from both staff and pupils at Leo Academy Trust. So not only having a positive impact on pupils' learning, but also a really, really good teaching tool as well. The next customer to introduce is Susan Ward, who's the Quality Improvement Officer for Digital Inclusion and Learning team at Midlothian Council. And Susan was asked in a case study, you know, she often gets asked why TextHelp, and her answer is why not TextHelp, because of TextHelp's ability to dream big. And I think from what Susan's saying here, we are wanting to work with partners that aren't afraid to dream big. A strong product, as Read and Write is, but a strong team behind that product. The way TextHelp products are developed, they are updated on a regular basis with improvements constantly made to those tools. What we do with Susan and many other customers are listen to what they have to say about the software. What improvements would they like to see? What additions would they like to see? And we ensure that that happens for our customers where possible. Again, like Leo Academy Trust, Susan made the software readily available to every single pupil across Midlothian Council, given the opportunity to every student to be able to understand and be understood whenever addressing the curriculum. And dreaming big, Susan has some fantastic ideas for software improvement, and we have embraced those and worked with Susan on those as well. Thanks, Jason. We've got a short video just to showcase some of the work that's been happening and some of the successes that have been happening within Midlothian Council. This is quite a long video. I must say it's about 12 minutes, but this is available on the TextHelp website and may well be made available to you via the chat if you would like to watch the entire video. But yes, we get about a couple of minutes of that video. That'll be great.
Midlothian is one of the smaller local authorities across Scotland. Within Midlothian we have 32 primary schools, 6 secondary schools and 1 special school. We are the fastest growing local authority, and that brings both opportunities but also challenges. We are committed to inclusion and making sure that we provide all of the support that we possibly can for every learner to achieve the best that they can be. It is a national directive in terms of making sure our learners are included, so that's our curriculum, the experiences, but also making sure that they have an equal opportunity to succeed and go on to a positive destination.
What we want to do is equip all our young learners and even adults with digital technology. And what we've done is we've actually equipped them by giving them all a Chromebook, or the younger ones an iPad, because we see that this is our investment in our school estate, that we will have learners who come out that will be able to meet the challenges of a new digital and technology age.
TextHelp came on the scene for us alongside the work we are doing as part of our Equipped for Learning project in Midlothian Councils, and the impact has just been phenomenal. So in our mixed estate of devices between iPads, Chromebooks and HP laptops, I wanted a tool, a product that would jump across those different devices, that would be clear, easy to use, consistent, work really well with our Google Workspace tenancy, and Read and Write just ticks all of those boxes for us on every level.
Midlothian Council very much want to provide inclusive education for all of their students. With the TextHelp tools, the software is essential for some, but useful and beneficial for all students, allowing every student the opportunity to understand and be understood. And that was at the forefront of everything that Midlothian were wanting to achieve, and one of the most successful rollouts as a customer success team that we have seen across the entire council.
Thank you, Jason. I think we've heard enough from him for one day on the video. Thank you for that one. Moving on, another Academy Trust, Lee Academy Trust, from all the good work that they have been doing with Read and Write. They have created a short digital book which really outlines how Read and Write has a positive impact on reading and writing right throughout, again, that entire trust. Fantastic resource. This book, if you flick through a few of the pages, Jason, to give everybody an idea of what this resource, it's actually started at the end. This resource actually breaks down how Read and Write has been able to support students where English isn't their first language, how Read and Write has been able to support students with dyslexia specifically, right the way through to helping students writing and oral fluency as well. So a variety of fantastic content and fantastic experience that's been gained by the Academy Trust in utilising Read and Write with their students, and some fantastic examples taken from specific students within the trust as well. So another great resource showcasing what Read and Write, the impact that Read and Write has had within the learners of the Academy Trust. And then finally, and possibly one of the most important things that can be achieved with the use of TextHelp tools such as Read and Write and OrbitNote, Simon Tanner, who's the National Director of SEND for EACT. In terms of impact, Read and Write has given students independence. They can have a piece of text read aloud, they can then write an answer or dictate an answer and listen to it back. There's so much that they can now do themselves, which is ultimately what we're trying to do as SEND practitioners. And we want to create a model independence. That is absolutely vital for pupils to have that independence and gain that independence in school, because not only can they use assistive technology in school, they can take that through their educational journey, whether it's on the further education, higher education, and indeed into the workplace, and instilling that independence and confidence in pupils at a young age in school is vital in order to achieve that. Jason had mentioned that we both have young children. Dyslexia is actually prevalent on both sides of my daughter's family. And it's one thing with the assistive technology solutions that we've been looking at today. It's something that I never fear for my daughters, because they will always have the support through assistive technology that they will need to level that playing field. Lastly, and following on from independence, and Jason has already alluded to exams, how Read and Write, Equatio and OrbitNote can become the complete exam solution for every subject and every device. Just get some slides now on some numbers. So just over 500,000 is the total number of pupils in all UK school sectors who qualify for additional access arrangements. An approximate number of pupils, an average taken across each UK school who require a computer reader and scribe. The number at average is 40 pupils per school. And what that translates to, if we take the number of hours a GCSE student needs support over the period of an exam season, that is a real cost of £360 per student. And then if we look, so in relation to the Joint Council for Qualification guidelines around access arrangements and exams, SENCOs may wish to consider the use of technology to a much greater extent instead of readers and scribes. Computer readers, examination reader pens, speech recognition technology, and word processors not only allow candidates to work independently, but are also better preparation for further and higher education and the world of employment as well. And tying that all together, what does that mean for this cost for a school? One human reader, roughly £12 per hour, over the course of 27 hours of exams, times by 40 students, that average number of students per school who qualifies for additional access arrangements. That's a cost of almost £40 short of £13,000 per year for any school, which is a significant cost. And through assistive technology, that cost can significantly reduce whilst providing students with that independence on a daily basis, that confidence on a daily basis that they can then take with them into an exam situation.
And I noticed some of the questions, the stuff that are coming in there, just about, you know, pricing and stuff like that there. We can offer trials as well, and I say I've got Michael's details here. So Michael, who is on the call, I think he's answering some of the questions and stuff as we speak there. His email is there if you want to reach out to Michael around any pricing inquiries, or if you want to have a pilot or a trial or anything like that of our software. We're more than happy to support you with that there. I think I'll hand over to you, Marius.
That's absolutely wonderful, wonderful presentation. Jason and Richard, that was superb. If you could stop sharing your screen now, Jason, that would be fantastic. And we'll raise some of the questions that came up. And one of them, very, very astute question from Jody originally. Jody was saying that, yeah, a couple of times I've spoken to companies about Read and Write. They've said, well, what does it do that the built-in technology tools in Windows and Mac operating systems don't do? It's an interesting one because, of course, some of the tech giants in their pursuit of universal design and accessibility are upping the game. I mean, I've seen some of the amazing features that you've just described, but from your perspective, if someone sort of challenges, if you like, you know, well, why buy Read and Write when you can get it free?
We think it's actually fantastic that the likes of, you know, Microsoft and Google and all these large platforms are starting to include assistive technology in their platforms, because before it was always the domain of sort of special ed and you needed very specific tools, and some of those tools were very, very expensive, so the cost of entry was very high. With the likes of the platforms now offering, you know, some of these support tools, it's making it more mainstream, it's making it widen in access for others, but there's still a need for specific support for students and for learners across all their different environments. Like you heard Susan from Midlothian saying, it doesn't matter if the kids are on Chromebooks, if they're on iPads, they're getting the same support across those environments. If they're using different devices at home than they are in school, they get the same support. Our toolbar looks the same, so it doesn't matter if you're using a Mac or you're using a Chromebook or you're using a Windows tablet. The familiarity which the students have with those tools, they're all in one place. They're not having to go into settings, they're not jumping from one tool to another, and okay, when I'm in Microsoft Word, I get this support, but when I go into Office 365, I get different support. But then when I go into a Chrome or a Google Doc, I get a different support. With Read and Write, they get the same support across all those different environments. They get that familiarity. And you think about exams as well. The big thing from JCQ is it has to be your normal way of working. Our tools are approved for usage within exams, so if they're using our tools throughout the year, that's their normal way of working, and then they can use them in exams. And some of the inbuilt functionality of, you know, the likes of Mac OS and stuff, you can't be using that in.
Indeed, because they are cloud services, open source, and which means that the URL cannot be locked down for exam purposes.
Yeah, so that's one of the big benefits for us. But yeah, we think it's fantastic that these tools are becoming more mainstream and more widely used, because we know that will encourage, you know, uptake of assistive tech and ed tech particularly.
That's really helpful, Jason. Just a couple of things.
Some features. Sorry to interrupt. Just a couple of features, for example, you can just select the text and convert it to audio and read aloud. And I don't believe there's many operating systems can do that with the applications. And then you've got the stream filters and stream readers. So maybe those solutions will be incorporated in one day. But as Jason pointed out, is going from one different setting to another. You might have to use different color tinting, and you might not have the same speech engines and identifying what you're hearing. and you might not like that speech model, whereas there's another speech model, and you might like that speech model. So this is why TextHelp can be a winner for some.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Colleagues from TextHelp, there's been a couple of things. Could we have, please, the URL of the video put into the chat pane? And Hannah also asked, could we have a link to the digital learning update booklets, which a lot of people are interested. I think they're available from your website, but if you could put the specific URLs while we're talking into the chat pane, that would be extremely helpful. Thanks, guys.
What we'll be doing as well, I should say to everyone, obviously you're going to be putting the video on the website after this, the recording of this. In our slides, we have all the videos are all linked and stuff within the slide deck there, so you'll be able
fantastic. That's really helpful. Thank you, Jason.
Now,
one of the questions I have is one about culture. I still think there's attitudes out there. I think it's probably attached to people's medical model of thinking, where they're actually saying, well, if you give these tools to kids, surely it's cheating. It's giving them an unfair advantage in terms of the use of technology. It's a sad case that still, I have to say, some people in power with control over education still think the only way to assess a child is through a handwritten 2-hour exam. Now, what kind of political pressure can you put, or do you put, on the actual policymakers? Because I think the more of us who share a dialogue and make a noise, we might be able to change the world a little bit.
Do you want to take that one, Richard, or do you want me to jump in there?
We could perhaps take a little bit. For me, everything that we've talked about there, school is to prepare you for later life and to equip you for later life, where you can use technology. We all use things that we would never use in school in later life to become more efficient in what we do, or more proficient in what we do. So, that's where I stand on that. To equip you for later life and provide you with that independence and level the playing field, supporting. We're all different. We all learn different. We all require different tools in order to help us learn. So, I suppose I'm naturally biased in this one, but certainly provision for providing any support to help level that playing field. But your question was, the latter part of your question, Marius, was in relation to applying pressure.
Yes. Yes. It's what we find is that some people are still wedded to the whole idea of ability being linked to your ability to do a 2-hour written exam. And yes, some accessibility has changed, some attitudes to accessibility has changed, but again, we've still got a long way to go, I think.
Yeah, I think with the likes of the principles of UDL and things like that there, I think a lot more people are beginning to realise is, what is important is that the learning is happening. So if you're doing, a history topic, whether it's, Henry VIII's wives or something like that, the important thing is you learn, who the wives were, who was divorced, who was beheaded, who died, and all this sort of stuff. But being able to share that learning, doesn't matter if you write it, doesn't matter if you speak it aloud into a computer, doesn't matter if you type it. How you share your learning shouldn't be dependent upon the medium that you use. So whether you write, you type, or you speak, you can show that you've learned and you can pass that exam. And I think more people are beginning to embrace that now. And I think as society moves on, with the advent of AI and things like that there, I think, we're moving so quickly away from a handwritten society, that having computer skills and being able to type up an exam is probably more useful to a student than being able to handwrite an exam. And we do work quite closely with the likes of BISA and other sort of industry bodies who, you know, are promoting the use of ed tech and educational software across schools in UK. And you know, because we're a global company, we find some countries are very, very advanced in this, and there's other countries, some of them quite close to home, are quite far behind in this area. So we're always pushing for that there. And for us, we want to advocate for those learners and for those students who need those supports and who can break the barriers that they face through the use of assistive technology. So that's a big part of our role.
I think it's all incumbent on us, isn't it, to, I think, make a distinction between communication and literacy in some ways, because what we're doing is making learning accessible for all through opening up communication pathways. Now, there will still be the traditionalists who see literacy as an ability to write and an ability to read. But if we sort of dismantle that roadblock, and it is a systemic roadblock across the system, and dismantle it by saying what we're doing is making the learning accessible, maybe that's something we can all hang our hats on.
Certainly.
It's a fascinating one, isn't it? I think I'm just checking. I don't think we've got any more questions. In which case, it leaves me to thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jason. That was an enormously powerful presentation. Certainly the way you contextualized it. And I know that the schools we're working with, and I know the people who will continue to visit our website and watch this video will find that in particular an illuminating thing. And to know that your products can now be used in exams because they've used them before. As you say, it's normalized, it's usualized, and they can take it into the exam hall. That's marvelous. We're going to be running a special webinar in March, well, probably February, which is all about accessibility in exams, and I will be using extracts of from this wonderful presentation to illuminate a pathway to other schools as well. So, Jason, thank you. Richard, thank you. If anyone on the call needs any further information, my colleague Michael, who is on the call as well, and you've seen him and he's waving away, he's your man. He's your man. He can talk to you. He's a great haggler, and we can sort things out. Guys, you've been amazing. Thank you. Thank you for attending this webinar, and thank you as a day for hosting. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye from Microlink and goodbye from TextHelp.
Thanks. Bye.